On today's episode, I spoke with Debarshi Chaudhuri about personalized AI videos and SMS marketing. Debarshi is the co founder of Maverick, a generative video AI company, and he's a top mind in the AI space. So there's a lot to dive into here. Let's get started. Would love to just kind of hear the bullet points of what's led you to where you are now and kind of what you're really focused on at this point in your career.
Cool. Yeah. Well, Blake, thanks a lot for having me. I'm Debarshi. I'm one of the founders of Maverick. We help e-commerce brands make AI generated personalized video content that they can send to their customers. Before Maverick, let's see, quick life story. Born in New York, grew up in Columbus, Ohio. Went to college, studied engineering, economics, and then worked in consulting for a while, and then have worked in tech kind of broadly for about 10 years or so now. Worked on the product side and then got really interested in AI kind of after I left my last company. Built a couple of apps that were, like did things like, look at an image, figure out what the image is of, and pair it with a quote. So you like take a picture of an apple and then pair it with a quote that's like, an apple a day keeps the doctor away or whatever. Right. And so that was kind of my first foray into AI. And then as my co-founder and I kept exploring ideas, kind of it came back to this concept of using AI to generate different types of content and using it to help a particular set of customers that we really enjoyed talking to, which was e-commerce brands. My co-founder had run a Shopify store in the past, so we had some experience there as well, and just really liked the people that make the products that like we all use every day. So really like talking to them, and then those two threads kind of merged to make Maverick. So as I mentioned, we do AI generated video content for e-commerce brands. Our focus today is really twofold. So I think one is using the content to drive as much customer delight as possible. And two is using the content to drive conversion and revenue for brands and to increase the lifetime value of their customers.
So let's dive into the e-commerce side of this for just a second. When we're talking about AI video for e-commerce, what does that look like compared to what it might look like for more of like a B2B company, just so that we can get an idea of how those videos would actually be different and what kind of videos you're helping to create.
Cool. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So an example of a AI generated personalized video is like, let's say that the CEO of Nike like sent you a video and is like, "Hey Blake, like thanks so much for buying that hat from Nike. Like really appreciate your business." Um, so what we would allow Nike to do is kind of generate that personalized video content for every single one of their customers without having to record a unique video. So your name would be AI generated in the video. Other parts of the video could be AI generated as well. In terms of how that looks different for e-commerce versus say B2B SaaS or cold outreach or something like that, I think at kind of the core level, like, hey, generate a personalized video, that is kind of the same, but we've seen kind of two things that make the e-commerce offering very different, and that's kind of where we're focused. Number one is just all the stuff around the video, like the integrations that you have, the platforms that you work with, the use cases as well. Like for instance, for e-commerce, you might want to send a video when somebody signs up for your mailing list, or when somebody makes a purchase, or when somebody abandons a cart, for instance. For B2B sales, you are probably doing something like cold outreach, right? So that's like kind of the one core use case there. You might have a couple more, but it's usually that one. So that's one part of it. And I think the second part of it, and kind of why we're very focused on e-commerce, is we've just seen that it works better. Like we've seen that when it comes to driving the metrics that businesses care about, in particular revenue conversion, in e-commerce, the AI generated videos are just better able to do that than they are in other industries.
So let's talk strategy. If a company comes to you and they're like, "Hey, we kind of want to do this, but we've never done it before," what's the step by step to implementing more personalized videos using AI to accomplish these results you're talking about? What's the strategy for like the people that do it best?
Yeah, totally. So I'll start kind of high level and then get kind of into the details as well. So high level, I think most of the brands that come to us had never done this before, but they tend to be kind of more like cutting edge, like thinking of new innovative ways to engage with their audiences. So they'll come to us usually with an idea of where in the customer journey they want to implement these videos, and then we'll help them figure that out as well. So we'll be like, hey, like you were thinking about a post purchase thank you. Like we've seen that we can really drive revenue for abandoned carts as well. So why don't you film an abandoned cart video as well? So that first step is just defining like, hey, where are we sending videos and what are the videos going to say, kind of. And then the next step is actually like recording the videos and like getting everything set up. We've tried to make the process kind of as smooth as possible here. Like it takes probably 45 minutes or so end to end for a brand to like generate all of the video content. That's kind of the base videos that they want personalized, as well as a voice training script that we provide. So it's like, kind of like 30, 45 minutes, record all the videos. And then you send those over to us. We process them, get all your integration set up, and then you're pretty much just kind of good to go there. Like you plug these directly into your flows, usually on Klaviyo. That's what most of our brands are using. So just plug it directly into your Klaviyo flows and then set it to live, and then you're going.
One thing you had mentioned earlier is using this for customer delight as well. So not just revenue, but building up satisfaction with customers. I'd like to know how you think about the balance between obviously if you're sending more things, more communications to customers, there is a chance that some people can view that as annoying. So how do you balance that with these generated AI videos to make sure that they are just adding to delight and not just adding more to somebody's inbox?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. So, I'd say we do two things. So number one, we usually like try to fit within existing flows and communications as much as possible. Like sometimes you will just want to send an additional email communication or SMS, but sometimes you'll just kind of replace your existing one with the one that we had. Um, and then two, what we really focus on, and this is particularly true for the post purchase, like thank you use case, which is typically our biggest delight driver. We focus on the direct like customer feedback that is left to brands. So let's say you receive a post-purchase thank you video from Dr. Squatch is one of our customers. So from Dr. Squatch, and then you view the video. You've got a place where you can actually just reply directly to the company and reply to the video. And we actually see for Dr. Squatch, I think 26% of people who view a video actually leave a response. And the responses are like almost universally just like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Like no brand actually sends videos like this. Like this really makes me feel like a valued customer. You've got a customer for life. So we focus on that. We're like, hey, like, are customers responding to these videos at a high rate? And what does the feedback look like? Are people happy? Are people upset with like purchases or the fact that we emailed them, et cetera? And by and large, like people are super happy. Blake, I think you're muted.
Sorry, it's just yeah, my
No
mic's just
worries.
not on. I want to zoom out a little bit and talk generative AI beyond just this one use case. Maybe even looking at what you're doing for your own company in terms of marketing. Where are companies getting a pretty decent edge right now with generative AI? What are the things that they're doing besides, video is one use case we've talked through here. Are you doing anything to grow your company using AI?
Yeah, totally. So uh, we definitely are. I'll kind of answer your question in two parts, I think. So one, we are using generative AI for like content creation across a lot of a lot of our marketing. So we use LLMs to help us write blog posts, for instance. So like we'll generate some of the blog post content, and then one of our writers will go in and like modify it and like create like the final blog post. We use kind of image models to generate images for different marketing communications, whether that's like ad creatives or images that live on our website. So we do that as well. And by and large, we're seeing like a lot of businesses like doing this. Like it's actually pretty amazing how quickly businesses have just started incorporating generative AI into their marketing. But I think the next level here is the power of generative AI. Like the first level power is like, hey, like you can just like make a bunch of content that you couldn't beforehand, right? Like I'm not an artist, I can't draw at all, but like I can make a picture that looks pretty good with generative AI. The next level here is actually using that content to kind of optimize all of your marketing campaigns. So the fact that you can generate content really quickly means that you can now test a lot of variations really quickly for any campaign that you're running. So you can like run a bunch of A/B tests and then get results and then optimize your campaigns. And you also have data around like, hey, what types of content like really work well for Maverick? Is it like I don't know, like a toy example, like a red background on the logo versus a blue background versus a green background, right? And you can just like generate all of those really quickly, test them, pick the right one, and then keep iterating from there.
The flip side of that, what are the things within generative AI that you don't trust yet or that you've kind of tried out and been not so satisfied with the results?
Yeah, totally. And I will say, like, all of this is like pretty new and evolving, like at a really rapid pace. So I think things that are almost there, but like not like quite there yet, I think are so voice cloning is very close, but we still need to like spend a lot of manual effort just making sure that results look really good. So that's one part. Another part is like full video generation is like getting there, but not like fully there. Then there's also like photorealistic humans. I'm sure you've seen like pictures of like people with like 12 fingers or whatever, right? Like not quite there, but we're getting closer.
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges is, so many creators and brands now think that AI is going to help them scale, which it can, but you want to add that level of personalization, and like the marriage of those two things is kind of the promise of what makes AI so exciting. Where do you think we're at with that, the personalization at scale part of this?
Yeah, totally. And it's almost like paradoxical, right? Like because we are like you're generating a bunch of content that was obviously computer generated. So like, hey, how personalized can it be? To some extent, but also like you are able to use all of the data that you've collected about a person. Brands these days are relying like more and more on like kind of first party data that they've collected based on like interactions with their sites and products. Like how do you use that to like generate like new content? So, we've like on the internet has been happening forever, right? Like merge fields in email are kind of like the very first like level of text personalization. Um, and now you can do like generate an image personalization, video personalization. I think we're like I think we're still like pretty early days. Like, I think there's a lot left to be done, just in terms of like taking the data that you have and like creating really compelling, like, yes, automatically generated, but still like really compelling for that person content.
As we wrap up AI here, I want to talk a little SMS marketing as well. But within AI, do you have any crazy predictions, hot takes on what the next couple of years might look like, or things that you want to see happen in the industry?
um, that is a good question. Um, so I think one, I think that there are as with any new technology, like new technologies have like a lot of benefits, but can also be like really scary, right? And there's like high potential for misuse. And so now you've got like, an executive order on like AI generated content. Like you've got all of this like space that government regulation is like going to start coming in as well. I think I am excited to see kind of how the regulatory landscape plus the like kind of market landscape like merge to create products that are just like really the best for the end customer because you kind of need them to like work hand in hand to do so. So I'm excited to see that. I don't know if that's the hottest take. That's probably like a pretty mild take, but that's kind of what I'm looking forward to.
No, I mean, it's the Wild West right now. Anybody can build whatever they want right now. So I think
Yeah.
that's it's a good call out. All right, let's spend a couple minutes here on SMS marketing in particular, because I think a lot of e-commerce companies are either doing this or want to, but for the ones that haven't done it yet, they might just not really know the right starting point. And I'm sure you probably have some thoughts on that. So how should a company go from 0 to 1 within SMS marketing?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the things that we've seen, and obviously the SMS companies will tell you this as well, but like we've seen it just in our videos that we send. We see like kind of like almost like 5 to 10x, depending on the flow, like higher like click rate engagement with SMS than we do with email marketing. And it kind of makes sense, right? Like if you have your phone on you all day, SMS is a very personal channel. And if you're trusting a brand to send you SMSs, you're probably going to engage with those SMSs a lot. So it's for anyone who's not using it, it's a great channel. Like you should try it. I think the things that turn people off are one, it is so personal, right? Like it feels like you're bothering someone to send them an SMS message. And so I think that holds brands back. And then two is like, how do you get started, right? I think from what we've seen, like getting started is like pick a platform and pick a flow. So like, there are a bunch of SMS messaging platforms out there, pick one. And then in terms of flows, like pick probably like a post-purchase thank you or an abandoned checkout, like your core flows, and then just like, make some really basic content and then just start sending the messages. One of the advantages of SMS is like, hey, if you're not creative, that's okay because you're so constrained, right? Like you can only send like text and like maybe you can throw an image in there, but like that's about it. So yeah, I think just like pick your core flow and like write a basic message and hit send, I guess, is kind of what I'd say.
Coming back to the customer delight point as well, this is a channel that is, again, it is so personal that it probably is even easier for a customer to get mad from a text message that somebody sends. Have you seen any ways to kind of mitigate that, or the right way to approach texting people so that it's actually additive and it's not making people upset?
Yeah, and you brought this up earlier when you mentioned like, hey, kind of like frequency of communication, right? Like how does Maverick make sure that like this additional communication doesn't piss people off? Um, for SMS, I think the number one thing is like frequency and just like speaking from like personal experience. Like if a brand is texting you like every day, like you're gonna unsubscribe like immediately. Um, I think my favorite like kind of SMS, I I do a lot of music stuff like on the side. I produce music, like go to a bunch of shows, and my favorite SMSs are kind of like the weekly like show update SMSs that I get from venues and from labels, like things like, hey, like we know you're interested in this topic, right? We know you might want to go see one of those shows. Like, here's a weekly digest. And it's like kind of, it's pretty predictable. There's always like some offer associated with it, like discount on tickets or whatever. So I just feel like there's value being delivered to me every single time I get one of these messages.
All right, last one. I ask all of our guests this question to sign things off. When you're looking at your tech stack or your tool stack for marketing specifically, what are the 2, 3 tools that if they went away, you'd be really mad about it?
For us personally.
Yep.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So for us, our primary kind of channels right now are search and then kind of like content marketing across like different like LinkedIn, Twitter, and things like that. Um, so I guess if like things that like help us like with search went away, like that would be bad. But like if we didn't have a website, right? So if Webflow went away and we're like, oh, we gotta like build a new website on something else, like that would be a disaster. Um if and then for stuff that we do to generate content as well. So like if we didn't have like, things like Canva and Figma to help us make carousels for LinkedIn, and if we didn't have tools like um, Chat GPT, and then we use Write Sonic to like kind of generate blog posts. Like if we didn't have that, like it would be really difficult for us to do content marketing. So I think those are kind of the ones that would be most painful for us.